Hi, this is Attila16 and this is a video guide of Steel Division Normandy 44, and this time this is a battle group guide for the 352 Infantry Pegasus Division. This is an infantry division, and it's actually an interesting one because I will say it's the kind of division which is good for a slow advance. And I will explain to you how that works. But I'll explain to you the result of all the round I played, and this resulted into this setup of unit. So for phase A, I bring Fusilier, two group of them, and that's because it's good infantry. Well, they are able to fight, let's say, so that's practical. Then I bring one SPW 204F. This thing has some armor piercing, so you can kill half track with that. And then for phase C, I bring an additional one, and this one actually is interesting because you have a bit more armor piercing. Here you only have 5, and here you have 7, so that's good. Also some HE, and this can be a good complement to late unit. But of course, this isn't clearly not a tank killer for phase C. Then you have here a lot of infantry. This is an infantry division, but the infantry you get, it doesn't have that much experience. So but you have many of them, and you can notice here that I bring for phase A, Grand Führer, and that will provide experience for my troops. So you get 3 of them here, and 2 group of Grenadier for phase A. So early on you push with that. Then for phase B, I bring those Truppen, which cost only 10. And actually, these here cost only 25. So I think for this division, what is important is to look at the price of those infantry. You can have a lot of them for very cheap price, but they don't have much. They don't have much experience, but you can really bring in many of them. So phase B, you can take a defensive stance or do recon in force, let's say, with these inexpensive troops here. And for phase B, I bring another officer because this unit really benefit from having officers, and you can also use your officer to increase the capacity of your support units. So having a lot of officer in this battle group is useful. Then here for phase B, you have those stub troops, which are actually super good, but in close range. And I've seen these guys kill a very good amount of infantry, but they are really close range and only 100 meter. While if you were to look at the Panzer Grenadier, here you have 400 meter in range. So these guys are particularly good for forest fight and buildings and close quarter combat. So this is a very good unit to have. Also, while there are only 5 in the unit, the experience make them actually able to sustain a large amount of fire, especially at long range, strangely. But yeah, having them is a really good asset, and they are effective at close range. Very good stuff. Then for phase B, I bring additional grenadier because you do need some anti-tank sometime, and they are also good at supporting the stub troops by suppressing the enemy with the MG here. I also bring some MG42 because you do need to suppress the enemy in phase B. And actually in this deck, do you have anything? Yeah, I could bring stuff from phase C. Here you have flamethrower, but from my experience, this deck is mainly good for phase B, let's say, where you advance slowly but surely. In terms of tank, I bring some Panzer A. This is a command Panzer for the phase A. I decided not to bring other tank, even though they are not that expensive and could be useful. But here, I think this is an infantry division, so it's better to just advance slowly and use this tank to support your infantry. In terms of support, this is something which is interesting. Here I use the IG-18 Plus. No, actually, IG-18 only, plus a truck to carry it around. And this is very important because your troops are not that experienced. They're not certainly not airborne, so that make them a bit not super good to take building by themselves. But by bringing the IG-18, you really suppress the enemy well with this. So this is a good cannon to use against enemy which are in building. So especially for phase A, it's useful. And you have four. Well, I brought two group of them here, and that's because early on, it's very likely that they will receive airstrike, mortar, and people will do everything to kill them. So it's good to have at least four of them early on. Now, by the time you reach phase B here, you kind of upgrade your tactic to that SIG-33, which is a bit stronger, 27, while this is only 9. So, well, with this one, you can really blow up a building. And then I bring this supply truck, which will resupply everything that might be missing ammo. Now, in terms of anti-tank capacity, I bring a Panzer Shrek because it's useful to have sometime. You can ambush the enemy. But here you can notice that I bring a lot of Pak 38 50mm for that phase A. I bring 3 groups of them. And that might be a bit special, but this is actually very important for phase A and potentially B, because these cannon have 10 armor piercing, and they will be your main anti-tank capacity depending what you're facing, and they will have to last for phase A and phase B. Now, of course, you could bring the Pak 40 75mm for phase B, for example. You could change this that way. That will make sense. But what I find interesting about the Pak 38 is that, first of all, 10 armor piercing, which is not bad. And here you only get, well, here you have a better range, that's for sure. But 13 armor piercing. But the thing is that you have an infantry division, so it's very likely that you'll end up fighting close quarter. Having that much more range can be useful, sure, but it's like it costs you twice the price, and it doesn't guarantee that it will survive airstrike. While here, having many of them, cheap price, you can cover a lot of ground, and you can establish a proper front line. So that's why I prefer quantity here over quality for all the phase A and B. Then here I bring the Jagdpanther, which costs 300, which is a bit of an insane price when you compare that to a King Tiger, for example. But this thing has 15 armor armor in the front, 22 armor piercing, so it's a really powerful gun. It's just that you're, well, it doesn't have a turret, and you're exposed on the flank, and it can get stuck. So it's not necessarily, well, I'm not that thrilled about it, but it has a lot of experience. So it's a really powerful unit, and you can actually rank up a lot of kills with this. It's a good unit overall. Anti-air. So here you have access to a lot of anti-air. So for phase A, I bring the Flak Verling, which are actually good at killing planes. So that's useful to have. That's why I bring, for the phase B, I actually bring the Flak Verling SF. So this is a much more mobile one. So with these, you can kill the enemy, which is important. And for phase B, you can actually bring Flak 41 88mm, 4 of them for phase B. So that's actually really important, because that can establish a no-fly zone around your units, and since you have a lot of infantry, that can be a good idea. At the same time, you don't have that many tanks, so you might not attract airstrike as much. So it's it's useful to have these to really create a no-fly zone around you. While here for C, I bring the mobile wagon, which actually is pretty good at chasing the enemy away, and this one even has some experience. I'm not sure why they put the experience there, but it's there, so why not? Artillery, I bring some mortars, GRW 120mm, so 2 of them for phase A, and this mortar actually has a pretty good not armor piercing, but heavy explosive capacity. Only 25 rounds though, but you have a good range, so you can do a very effective job with these early on in the battle, and you can have actually up to 3 during the battle. But so far, I mostly find that useful to have 2 of them. And for later phase here, for example, I bring a half track with off-map artillery, and for phase C, additional off-map artillery over here, because I'll be pushing forward and I don't want to necessarily babysit the artillery in the back. But that's up to you. Here you actually have access to many different artillery, so you feel free to adjust this to your liking. But in my case, for my style of playing, this is very effective during all the rounds. And also, one thing I should add, I guess, is that this off-map artillery, what I find useful for phase B and C is that you can target the enemy with artillery without attracting counter-artillery fire, because the enemy doesn't know where you're. There's no trail of bullets showing you the way. While with the mortar, it's clear that at some point you will either receive an airstrike or you will receive some artillery on them. So this is why for phase B and C, you have the mobility here, and you also have the stealth linked to it. Now, in terms of Air Force, here it's a bit weak in air-to-air, I will say, but I decided to go with phase B Stuka with 2 stars of experience. And you can see here that with this you're able to really kill many tanks, and if you preserve it a long time, that can be very effective. Here I chose for phase B to have at least two FW190 G3 because you need that against the enemy vehicle. And for phase C, or infantry actually, for phase C I bring the GU88S to suppress some more. These have big bombs, so it's powerful stuff. Now I guess if you, I mostly use this for 10 versus 10, but if you go with a smaller match, having 1 fighter instead of those bomber can be a good idea. But in my case, those fighter bomber did serve me well. So this is pretty much this Pegasus division, how I set it up, and I think that the way it's set up right now, it's the most effective I had this division for 10 versus 10 at least. And I will publish a video showing the use of this division in action soon, so I'll see you there.